So recently I sat down to watch The Northman for the first time. Robert Eggers is a director that I've been hearing about for a while now, so a few days ago I decided to finally sit down and start watching his films, starting with, supposedly, his most conventional one. And while I wasn't blown away by every aspect of this film, I was extremely impressed by what I watched in the end. In this movie, we follow Amleth, a Viking prince whose father is murdered and years later tracks down the killer to exact revenge. This is very much a simple yet slow-building story about revenge and fate that really excels in its execution because the filmmaking on display here is honestly nothing short of masterful. The cinematography, for example, is just beautiful and really shows off the grimy nature of this world. Not to mention the incorporation of Norse mythology into the narrative really adds to the dark atmosphere and epic scale of this story. And then the cast bringing the characters in this story to life is also exceptional, especially Alexander Skarsgård as Amleth. This man goes from an absolute animal in the most brutal scenes to a man driven by fate and almost blinded by revenge, resulting in a very layered performance that became one of the most impactful aspects of the film to me. Now, you can decide just how significant this next point is, but like I said before, there's a lot of Norse mythology woven into the story here, and while I am familiar with a decent amount of those stories, there were a number of confusing moments here where I wasn't sure if it was because of my lack of knowledge with the mythology, or if it was just being poorly explained. I don't really know how else to put it. Now, from what I've read, it seems like keeping things vague and up for interpretation is just part of Robert Eggers' style as a whole, which I am all for. Some of my favorite movies are actually like that. At the same time, I do think there is a fine line between keeping things vague and then something making absolutely no sense, and that's kind of how I felt during some parts of this movie. But don't get me wrong, I really do love the majority of this movie, and I think the direction this movie takes was the right one, as I think there's a good amount here that will please casual viewers as well as enough depth for others to really sink their teeth into, and that alone, I think, makes this film an achievement. Overall, The Northman succeeds as a gripping tale of revenge thanks to its bold directing, stunning cinematography, and all-around talented cast, even if its more confusing moments do make it feel a little disjointed at times.